now for our program on the fascinating biology of dragonflies and damselflies. They're amazing creatures, and we're very proud to have Kathy Biggs here to talk to us about them. Kathy has been consumed by dragonflies since 1996 when she built her own pond. Since then, she's created multiple websites and written several books on the subject. So, really, without any further delay, Kathy Biggs, welcome to our community program.
Thank you. I only wish I was there in person. Such a lovely area. And if you go out on a pontoon boat, I can guarantee you're going to have some dragonfly sightings, although we're kind of at the end of their flight season. So I'm ready to start the program right now. So I'm going to see if this will work. So I want to talk to you first about the dragonflies, and then I'm going to let that lead into talking about wildlife ponds. So this is my pond, picture taken in July, and this is a flame skimmer dragonfly, and this
Kathy,
is a pair. Yes,
Kathy, we can't see your
yeah,
program.
you cannot see the program. Sandra, come back here. I have my co-author here. Let's see what we can do here. Here, we got it.
She has an assistant, which we all need.
Yes. Oh, it's wonderful having an assistant, let me tell you. So we met through dragonflies.
Nice.
So, okay, she's trying to figure out.
No, it's coming. Share sound, optimized for video sharing.
Okay, we're looking into it. Anyway,
Yeah,
dragonflies are beautiful creatures, and as soon as we get them up where you can see them,
we can see it
you can.
now.
Okay,
So back to the make it the program now.
okay, I do that usually with something I can't see right here. Let's see. There's another way to start it. There's always more than one way to do things from the beginning. Okay, do you see it now, everybody?
Let's
We do.
hide the bar.
We're hiding this bar. That is it showing for you?
There we go.
You're
Okay.
perfect now. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so now you're looking at a picture of my pond taken in June, and two of the dragonfly species that have come to it. And the pond started its life back in the 80s when I had small children as an above ground doughboy pool. And we got tired of putting chemicals in and taking leaves out. And so we took it, sides of it down, and the dug in deep end became my wildlife pond. I just felt it was the natural thing to do to build a pond for wildlife. So I didn't build it for dragonflies, but build a pond and they will come. And they are just gorgeous creatures. So this is a flame skimmer, the first dragonfly that came to my pond, a beautiful creature, Libelia saturata, saturated with color. And who knew it was going to lead me into not only writing books about dragonflies, but my pond being on public TV. So later in the program, I'm hoping to show you the newest deep look that just came out last week about dragonflies and damselflies. So for now, I want to tell you, dragonflies have been on the earth for over 300 million years. So they were here before dinosaurs, and who knows, they may be here after us. And they come in beautiful colors. And they come in many sizes. This is a widow skimmer, and perched on its wing is another skimmer, the blue dasher. Most dragonflies have clear wings, but some of them have colored wings and patterned wings. And they can do the amazing things, both in their flight and in their biology. So I want to do a little bit of science talk. When I'm teaching, I like to avoid unfamiliar terms, but the order is Odonata, the dragonflies. And there are two suborders, the Anisoptera dragonflies and damselflies, the Zygoptera. So in science talk, there's Odonata, Anisoptera, and Zygoptera, three words. And in English, there's dragonflies, and damselflies. So we're hoping to have people start calling them odonats or odes for short when you mean the whole order. but I've been doing it for 70 years and I sometimes forget myself. So it's been a while since third grade. So dragonflies are insects with a head, a thorax, and an abdomen. And in dragonflies and odonats, every single one has 10 segments to the abdomen, and we'll be referring to them when we talk about identification marks as segment 1 or segment 7, etc. So I want to talk to you about their head. Their head has these huge, humongous eyes, and that's because they're predators. They need these big eyes to see. They can see in front of them, to either side, above and below them without even moving their head. Each eye has 30,000 facets, where a housefly has only 4,000. But what we see in them isn't necessarily what they see in each other, as they can see not only polarized light, but also ultraviolet light. So a little bit more about the head. Here's a green darner head, and this is its big eye, and this is showing all the different facets and the multiple focal points that it can use. And some dragonflies even have built-in sunglasses. So there they are flying in the sun, and they've got their sunglasses on. The head has no nose, so when I was doing research and knocked the head off by accident when I was a beginner, the dragonfly did not die until it would have lived until it starved to death, but it had no sensory input, so it also didn't move. The mouth is below the eyes, and can they bite? Well, of course they can. They're predators, but a dragonfly will never land on you to bite you. Not to worry about that. In fact, this is about the only way we can get them to bite us. And this dragonfly is being held by its wings. Their wings are made of material like our fingernails, and so it doesn't hurt them to hold them this way, unlike butterflies. And they eat the most dangerous animal in the world, the mosquito. Think malaria, dengue fever, West Nile disease, Zika, and more. So this picture is from the coloring book that Tim Manolis and I built together. And I asked him to draw the last thing a mosquito might see. So he drew the green darner, and there you can see why they're called odonats, ode referring to the teeth. So they chew their prey, they don't suck it. More about the head. In art, they often have curly, cute antennas. Art can be art, but in real life, their antennas are small and inconsequential. When I started doing programs about dragonflies 25 years ago, we didn't know the purpose of that. Now we know they're sort of like speedometers. And in the nymph stage, they're also chemoreceptors, and there's speculation as to whether they could be chemoreceptors in the adults too. We're still learning about dragonflies. That's one of the exciting things about them. The next part, being the thorax, is shaped sort of like a parallelogram, and all 4 wings come off the top, and all 6 legs come off the bottom. And they actually can breathe through the thorax. This is a spiracle on the side of the body where oxygen exchange can happen. Here's another one. It's actually on the abdomen. There's others up on the top. Can't show you enough slides to show you all of them. So here's looking down on a dragonfly, showing the 4 wings and all 6 legs coming off of the thorax. And sometimes when they perch, you'll see them using only 4 of their legs, because they hold their front legs up and behind their eyes, sort of like air cushions to protect those very valuable eyes. And they can use their, oh, this is supposed to be moving. It didn't. Let me see if I can get it to move. Well, it's supposed to be showing you cleaning its eyes. I'm sorry about that. So here's a close-up look at the top of the thorax, showing you how each wing is individually muscled. In fact, you can see there's a muscle for this part of this wing, another muscle for another part. They can move the wings in ways that an airplane could not. Besides moving individually, they can have parts be concave and convex. It's quite interesting. And doesn't that look a bit like a solar collector? Well, it sort of is. They are solar powered. So you'll usually see dragonflies only on sunny days, and you'll often see them perching with their flight muscles oriented towards the sun. And then talking about the abdomen, as I mentioned, always 10 segments. And the female has 2 appendages at the end of the abdomen. And these are not stingers, and they cannot sting you, although I've known them to fake it and make me drop them. And then the male has a 3rd lower appendage and a bump under his 2nd segment. Let me show you that bump a little better in this slide. So if you think of a dragonfly male as having a little Swiss Army knife here with several different parts, you'll have the right idea for him. And he secretes his sperm at the end of his abdomen, and then he has to take his sac of sperm and move it up to this area of his abdomen, where he has tools actually not only for insemination, but also tools for dissemination. He is able to remove sperm left behind by females having mated with other males. Pretty advanced. So in the dragonflies, we use the appendages often to help determine the species. But in dragonflies, this is very important because his little male parts here fit together with her parts perfectly like a lock and key. So courtship is very brief. He's at the pond waiting for her to show up. She shows up, he chases her down, he grabs her. But then when he grabs her, it feels correct and she'll want to mate with him. And we'll go into that in more detail. Nothing scary, believe me. So the dragonfly life cycle, dragonflies start their lives as an egg laid in your pond or maybe in a river. The eggs hatch in a few days to overwintering. And what emerges is the nymph. This is a dragonfly nymph. This is a damselfly nymph. They live underwater for from 6 weeks to up to almost 6 years. The longer period of time, colder climates, species, and the amount of food determines that. And then eventually they emerge onto some substrate and split open their exoskeleton and hang backwards, completely helpless, until their wings and their body dries and they're able to fly off, leaving behind the exuvia. So the exoskeleton, once it's empty, is now referred to as an exuvia. And that's how you know if your pond is a breeding place, successful breeding place for dragonflies or damselflies. And then it flies off, and it doesn't live just for one day. That's a misconception. That's mayflies. So they live for a longer period than that. And once sexually mature, they begin mating. They want to mate as many times as they can until she lays the eggs and the cycle starts again. So here's a tandem pair. Always it's the male in front with the female behind. He's used his appendages to grab her by the back of her eyeballs. That's how they do it. Here's a close-up of that. Here's the appendages at the end of the male's abdomen, and he's inserted them into this empty space behind her head. So this is called being in wheel. If he is the right species, she will agree to mate with him. But if it's not the right species, she will just hang limply. So if human males could do what he's doing, which is first dissemination, removing sperm from inside her from any prior encounter she's had, and then insemination, at that point, then putting his sperm to use. So her eggs pass through his sperm. Here's a better close-up of this. He's holding her by the back of her eyeballs. It's the right species. She's agreed to mate with him. She grabs hold of his abdomen and moves her sexual area up to his sexual area. This can last from a few seconds to 45 minutes or more. The longer it takes, the more likely it is that he is removing sperm left behind by a prior mating she's had. After they mate, he doesn't want to let go of her, because if he did, another male might grab her and remove his sperm. So the meadowhawks, the males always stay in tandem, and we call it tandem guarding in the skimmers, they often hover above the female, chasing away any other male. And here you can see the eggs that she's laid in this pond. And Ken was holding this dragonfly, and Ray took a picture of it, showing it laying its eggs. So the size of a dragonfly egg is about like the dot of it when you're writing something with a pen or pencil. And this is my garden pond. All these little white spots are dragonfly eggs, cardinal meadowhawk eggs. And all the dark spots are developing eggs, a few days old. What hatches out are dragonfly nymph, which kind of look like six-legged spiders. And they have this really neat feature called a lower labium. It's as if you holded your arm up next to your chest and put your hand over your mouth, and then if you shoot it out, that's what they have. They can shoot this lower lip out, grab prey, and bring it back to their mouth and eat it. And it even kind of forms a little bowl to catch the crumbs. But remember, they were here before the dinosaurs. Pretty advanced, if you ask me. So one day I looked out at my pond, and there on the mare's tail, there was a little brown something. So I got my binoculars out, and I looked, and yes, it was a dragonfly beginning its emergence. So I waded out in the pond. I picked the frond of mare's tail and put it in a glass of water and took these pictures. So the dragonfly has split open its exoskeleton, and it's just hanging limply here. This lasts for 45 minutes or more, depending on the humidity and the temperature and whether it's in the direct sunlight or not. Its legs have to harden. They have been softened to come out of the exoskeleton. And the exoskeleton has to harden too, because the next move it makes is it lurches forward and grabs hold of the exoskeleton and pulls its abdomen out. And you can see once it's out, it's already twice as long as the exoskeleton it was in just a moment or two ago. And then it starts pumping up its wings and its abdomen, very much like what butterflies do. And then once its wings are all the way pumped up, it opens them for the first time and flies off. Now, this is a cardinal meadowhawk, which is a bright red species. But just like juvenile birds being more cryptically colored, that is also true of the dragonflies. Keeps them safer when they're at this very vulnerable stage. As you know, blackbirds like to build their nests right around the pond where they're emerging. So here's a close-up my brother Bob Claypole took. This is a dragonfly exuvia, and these are damselfly exuvia. Finding these on your pond confirms that a species has completed its life cycle. And a little talk about the difference between dragonflies and damselflies. Think of a dragonfly as about the size of your pinky, its body, or maybe your child's pinky, and the eyes are large and close together. The wings are held out to its sides, and the hind wing and the forewing are differently shaped. Think of the damselfly as the size of a matchstick, possibly even a needle, and the eyes are widespread. They're kind of like a hammer-headed shark this way. Their wings are held folded together. This is all forewings, and their forewing and their hind wing are similarly shaped. And dragonflies and damselflies are all carnivores. So this is a female Pacific spiketail, and she's eating a yellow jacket that she caught at my pond. She's chewing it up. They also catch mosquitoes by the hundreds, and they have a 97% success rate. The damselflies are less like our hawks and birds of prey, more like our warblers. They're gleaning insects down at knee height. They do catch things in flight. They do even steal insects from spider webs. So who eats dragonflies? Well, our beloved birds do. And they not only eat the flying dragonflies, they eat the dragonfly nymph in the pond. This is the underside of a common green darner, And this is that lower lip that he can shoot out to catch prey. Although I think this guy's catching prey days are done. Sometimes frogs try to eat them. I'm sorry, some of my graphics just aren't working here. And this spider actually caught a huge darner dragonfly in its web. I don't think she needed to eat again the rest of her life. They have many known predators, sometimes other dragonflies. This is a pond hawk, named for its tendency to eat other dragonflies. Even our carnivorous plants can be a danger, especially to the damselflies and other carnivorous insects. They have many known predators: fish, turtles, spiders, frogs. One of their greatest predators used to be cars, but I doubt in the last year if any of you have found a dragonfly on your windshield. Let me know if you have, because I'd be amazed to hear that. But habitat loss and change, of course, is the biggest danger. And global warming, which I like to call global weirding, is a great danger. Think of our flash floods and the rivers being scoured out, the lakes overflowing, creeks overflowing. Then think of the droughts where the ponds dry up, the rivers shrivel, the lakes shrivel, lakes become less deep. All of this affects them. But they've been here 3 million years. They may outlive us. So if you want to attract them to your garden, all you really need to do is have sunny areas with perches. Of course, you won't want to use pesticides. Not only would you kill the dragonfly, like this blue dasher, you would also kill their prey. But the best thing is to build a fishless pond for them. So this is a pair of common green darners in my garden pond. And the benefits, we've talked about that already, but I wanted to mention a benefit also is that they're beautiful and they're fun to watch. So what dragonflies might come to your pond in the Morro coastal area? Well, here's the flame skimmer. Here's the widow skimmer. This is the 12-spotted skimmer, named for 3 dark spots on each of its 4 wings. This is the 8-spotted skimmer, named for the 2 dark spots on each of its 4 wings. But when you're identifying dragonflies, go by their markings rather than their color. So when I started, it was hard for me to tell the flame skimmer from the cardinal meadowhawk. Flame skimmer is named for the color of a flame, and the good identification mark is this yellow ladder-like area in the wings. The cardinal meadowhawk is named after the bird, the cardinal, and the bird, the cardinal, is named after the Catholic cardinals. And it holds its wings down and forward instead of out and flat. And it has white spots on the side of the thorax and a little dark basally in the wings. So another kind of meadowhawk you might see would be the variegated meadowhawk at your pond. He's identified by these white portholes low on the abdomen and the white stripe that becomes just a yellow dot as it matures. If you go out on your Christmas bird count and you see a dragonfly, there's a 99.9% chance that this is the one you're seeing. It's a migrant. It comes down from areas further north and perhaps overwinters along our coast where it's mild. There are also the pond hawks. This is the female, and the dasher with his cute little white face. And he has this blue coloration that's actually prunosity, like the wax on a plum that makes that's the prunosity. And he is a studly guy. So many females have mated with him that they've shined his wax where they grabbed him here. Now, he was actually a brown plaid when he first emerged, and he develops this blue prunosity as he matures. The pond hawk does the same thing. This is a female, but the male will develop this blue prunosity covering up the abdomen and then the thorax, leaving only the green face. So the way to tell these two apart on mature males is the green face or the white face, and you have to hope they face you for that. And then there's a common whitetail. That would be at your pond too. And it's prunosity, again, on this species. He has black bands on his wings. This is the one species with true sexual dimorphism. She has wings very much like a 12-spotted skimmer, but instead of dashes along her abdomen, she has slashes. And then there's the darners, but Well, this is supposed to show you a darner quickly flying across the slide. Let's pretend. There he goes. And when they land, you can see them well. And there are many look-alike species. The blue-eyed darner has this kind of wrench-shaped appendages, while the California darner has this simple appendages. And then there's the shadow darner, very common at this time of year, and it has not yet been recorded in San Luis Obispo County. I'm hoping one of you will go out tomorrow or sometime in the next week or two and find one. He's identified by this black word 7 on the side of his thorax and by blue spots on the underside of the abdomen, and his appendages have this little spine at the end. There are other species like the paddletail that have this spine at the end also. So you need to see both things to make the identification. This is the female. She likes to lay her eggs in saturated wood. Therefore, her cerci, her appendages often get broken off. And I think she's a lovely chocolate brown color. And then there's the common green donner, Anax junius, Lord and King of June. He's about the biggest dragonfly you'll have. And then there's the damselflies. We'll talk about them quickly. They make this beautiful heart shape when they're mating. The pond damsels are the most common ones. There are 6 California genera and 17 species. The most common at your pond will be the bluets. And there are 5 different species of bluets in San Luis Obispo County. And then there's the forktails. There's 4 species of forktails. The most common is the Pacific forktail, who it looks like his thorax is a black dye with 4 blue spots on it. And then there's the Western forktail, who has stripes instead. These will be common at your pond. And if you want to identify the dragonflies, the Anisoptera, I really recommend my new guidebook. It just came out. Sandra and I co-authored it. I thought I was retired, but she had other thoughts. Some of you may own my old pocket guides. They're no longer in print and are kind of outdated now. The new guide has not only a large picture of the male, but of the female. It has a predicted map. For each genus, we show in exuvia or nymph, and we think we're the first guide to do that. It explains about the male and his behavior, the female and her behavior, their habitat, and what species are similar. It's just really a nice book, and I'm proud of it. You can buy it from Sandra and I online and get the spiral bound version, or on Amazon where it has a regular spine. So this is where you can go to buy it from me. If you have your cell phone out, you can maybe take a picture of that, or I'll try to show it again later in the program. Also, I have a dragonfly coloring book that teaches you about them. Tim Manolis and I cooperated on this, and there are 2 eGuides. I have one for the Southwest, and my mentor, Dennis Paulson, has one for the whole West. It's an excellent book, but it goes into great detail. It is not what I recommend for a beginner. All of those can be bought from Amazon. And then there's web resources. There's my California Dragonflies website, and there is Sandra's Western Odonata, where people post pictures and get their pictures identified and ask questions about dragonflies. Also, there's Odonata Central, which is a good web resource, which is a lot like your eBird. And then there's iNaturalist, where you can post pictures of all sorts of different things that might come to your pond. And if it's a rare dragonfly, I'll probably be the one identifying it for you. So this is where I hope to show you the Deep Look program. If it starts with an ad, though, I'm going to back out of it. Let's see what happens.
All Uber drivers pass a background check before they're...
So I'm going to back out of that, and we'll come back to it later. Let me just get back into the slideshow here. This is my pond, and I want to talk to you now about, how do I get back into this? Why is that not saying? Okay, not from beginning, from current slide. Okay, there we go. So this is my pond in my backyard. This picture was taken early summer this year. It's brought me so much fun, so much delight, got me into dragonflies. So why build a pond for wildlife? Well, it's a natural thing to do. A lot of our riparian and aquatic habitats are drying up, buildings being built over them. And if you have a pond that's built for wildlife, you'll get the dual pleasures of the tranquil, restful enjoyment of a garden pond and the opportunity to see the local wildlife up close and personal. But as Kermit the Frog used to sing, it isn't easy being green. Almost everywhere you turn, you'll find gorgeous tropical lilies and koi. The pond shops make a lot of money selling koi, which are really very expensive raccoon food. And they're not native to our area, and they do not belong in a native pond. So dragonflies might come to a koi pond, but whether they'd be able to successfully breed there, I'm not so certain. So what animals might visit your wildlife pond? Well, some animals have to have water in order to breed. And we've already talked about the dragonflies, but our Pacific chorus frogs, they evolved in ephemeral waters. It's not in their DNA to avoid fish. So please, a fishless pond will also help our frogs. And salamanders and many aquatic insects need ponds to breed in. So other animals are going to use your pond as a watering hole and a bathtub, sometimes at the same time. I've had 13 different mammals come into my pond in Sebastopol. This picture of a deer, however, was taken at my pond in McLeod, but I've had deer at both ponds. I've had fox at both ponds. I've had rascally raccoons at both. And I've even had bobcats at both. These pictures taken on I call it my spy cam, but it's my trail cam. And one of the mammals is humans. I enjoy getting in my pond. When it's a hot day, there's nothing quite so lovely as getting into the pond and cooling down. So in late summer, when it's so hot, sometimes thinning is necessary. 65 species of birds have visited my pond, and I can guarantee you'll have the black phoebe. He's a specialist on aquatic habitats. Probably the largest bird I've had has been the great blue heron, and the smallest, the various hummingbirds that come in and they get insects that are swarming above the pond, and they also drink and bathe. Here it is in my waterfall overflow. Probably the most interesting bird and least expected was a juvenile white-tailed kite. I'm not sure if that's current term for its name, but that's how I learned it. And this guy was starving and was taken to bird rescue. But I think the prettiest one at either of my ponds is the western tanager. Then there are 6 species of reptiles and amphibians. 28 species of dragonflies have come to my pond. I've also had 28 species of butterflies, including this buckeye, which laid its eggs on the mare's tail in my pond. And I actually had a butterfly breeding in my pond, and various spiders and miscellaneous insects, more than I could count. So hopefully you've decided you want to try building a wildlife pond. Well, research what's native in your area and see what you like. I love blue flag iris against the yellow of seed monkey flower. Find nurseries or online sites that sell native plants, and consider visiting plant sales from your California Native Plant Society. So if this was an in-person and not Zoom, I would be handing out this flyer, which you can find as a download on my website. So if you have your cell phones here, try to record that. Otherwise, I'll be showing it again at the end of the program. This is Indian rhubarb. These leaves are 1 to 3 feet across. They really add drama to it, this plant right here. So hopefully you can get a hold of a copy of this. So now let's think about designing your pond. And believe it or not, you want to put your pond near your house. You want it where you can see it. You will be the best steward, and you will get the most enjoyment for it if you do that. I had a friend who built hers way out in the back where she liked to go out to meditate. One time she went out to meditate, and the rascally raccoons had rearranged her waterfall to be flowing out of her pond, and she lost all the life that was in her pond. You'll be the best steward for your pond if you build it near your home. And then think about its size. So the British Dragonfly Society did research and came up with the ideal size being 15 by 20. With that size, you can reach into the pond and get leaves and any other matter out without entering the pond yourself. The main problem I know for people who build ponds is they build them too small. If they're too small, they're not stable. Rascally raccoons can rearrange everything. So my pond is a little too big since it started life as a doughboy pool. It's 24 feet by 20, the other 4 feet being now my beach area. So this blue area is the shallow edges of my pond. This pale green area are the planting shelves. 18 inches deep, you put aquatic plants in pots there. You can see my aquatic plants here growing from my planting shelf. And then this part, the deep area, is 3 feet deep. That keeps the pond more stable and it provides a shelter spot from some of the larger predators. I also recommend building steps going into your pond liner, which should be 45 millimeter EPDM, can be very slippery once it gets slime on it. So putting some gunny sacks full of soil leading in under your pond will be something you'll thank yourself for later. So think about the edge treatments. I want people to refrain from the necklace approach, and I want people to refrain from the preformed ponds that don't have a beach and are not deep enough to really be stable. So I used rocks, which I then use non-toxic expanding spray foam insulation to glue together. You put handfuls of your local dirt on that while it's drying. Don't use cement. Cement has chemicals in it that will leach into your pond that will make it not healthy. I use boulders to build my waterfall. The first two have already been brought in, and then the third one was brought in. And one of the things I like about ponds is having a log to sit on. So you can get logs in our national forests from coal piles. And so this one, my husband actually notched it the whole length, and the pond liner went up and over cement bricks, and then we sat this on the bricks. The part we cut off, we then put right here with pond liner in between and planted it. And voila, this is it nowadays. There I am in the pond. Here is the log. Here is the area that I planted on the other side of it. I just love my pond. You'll love having a pond too. So vary the edges. I have the beach, I have pathways, I have the log. This is the first log. I had to rebuild my pond 20 years in because it started off with a doughboy swimming pool liner that was already 20 years old when I built the pond, and it disintegrated. So grassy areas are possible. And then I really like using plant pockets. You make a ring of rocks, you put in some pond liner, and you use clay soil. Clay soil will not float like potting soil will. So use heavy clay soil and plant it. You can also buy bags made for this, but then everything's just in a round shape or a square shape. You can't get individual shaping. And you can also use bogs as an edge treatment. This is my Indian rhubarb planted in a bog area where I dug 18 inches deep, and you can line it. You can let your pond liner actually go into this area, or you can use cut off edges from the square corners of the pond liner to create these. You fill them with half peat soil and half your own garden soil, and then plant it with moisture loving plants. This picture taken in early spring, it shows this area before the Indian rhubarb has emerged. And then this area, this is where I planted the seep monkey flower. And there it is growing in my bog area. And also this, which is marsh marigold. And then consider the layout of your pond site, because there's going to be runoff and overflow. You do not want runoff going into your pond. It might come from your neighbor's yard, depending on how large a piece of property you have. You do not want pesticides or anything like that flowing into your pond. So have berms around the edges of your pond, and then think about where it's going to overflow. So this is my McLeod pond where I planned the overflow to be right here, and I'm so happy. I have filled it just to full, and there it is overflowing right where I want it to. It actually, the overflow won't be more water than normal rainfall over that area, but it will be directed. So you might consider your neighbor's property. So I was able to use the cutoff edges from the excess pond liner for my overflow to go down to the hill. And then I lined it with rock and planted native grasses around it. And it's worked very well. That pond is now 25 years old itself. So moving water is nice, but you don't have to have moving water for your pond. Recirculating water keeps your pond fresher. My off-the-grid pond up in McLeod is not got recirculating water, and it has stayed just clear as can be using the formula, which I'll show you in a few moments, of how much underwater and how much emergent plants you want. The nice thing about a waterfall is it aerates the water. Think of each of these little waves and a string going over them, how much longer it would be than a straight string. It helps oxygenate your water, and it discourages mosquito and algae. So designing the interior of your pond, again, you want to use clay soil, plant in clumps. So 1/3 the area should have underwater plants. And I used Elodia goldfish plant in my pond. And then 2/3 of the area should be covered in emergent vegetation. So in my pond, that is on my planting shelf. Some of the things like the blue flag pretty much go straight up, but other things like water clover float on the surface. You want to plant something for every season, vary the foliage colors and shape, and consider having a reflected area. There's my oak tree being seen a second time. You'll also want to provide an escape route. So a log or something pretty, some pretty manzanita going in and out of your pond also helps to anchor it into your yard. So here's another picture of my Sebastopol pond. There, my log, my walkway, my beautiful Indian rhubarb, my blue flag iris, no longer in bloom at this time of year, my planting pocket. So maintaining a wildlife pond is not nearly as much work as a koi pond. You don't have koi or goldfish pooping in it, but still about every 6 years, you're going to want to drain it partially and do a severe pruning. So this will take you to my pond's website. And this is a Kindle book I sell on Amazon. It's got all the photographs from this slideshow, plus many more in more detail on it. So I'll leave the slide up for a second if you want to try to take a picture of it with your cell phone. And I'm going to walk you real quickly through building my pond in McLeod. We used a bulldozer to dig. I raked out the rocks. I made sure it was level. Then I used old carpeting. You can also buy pond liner to go under your liner. Then we spread the liner, began filling it with water. One of the first things I do was put the underwater plants in. This is a goldfish plant, and I've got it in a planting tray with rocks holding it down. It has no soil. It will take its nutrients from the water, thereby keeping algae down. I'm filling up the gunny sacks to be my steps. I provided, even at the beginning, something inside and outside the pond, and these fox sparrows enjoyed it immediately. But as the pond filled further, it floated. I went in to get it, and a lizard ran up my hand when I grabbed it. He had used it already as a place to escape and be safe. So at the end of my first day, this was my McLeod pond. We're at about 5,000 feet there. We get a lot of snow. This is it, the first spring. after it overwintered is a frozen pond. And this is a current picture of what that pond looks like. And I have my trail cam and I get pictures of some of the cutest things in my pond. I just enjoy it so much. I think you will enjoy having it. It certainly brings in a lot of birds. So again, this is for you to photograph if you have your phones out, or maybe the hosts can give that to you later. And now let's see if I can show you this video filmed at my garden pond. It just went live last week.
With Ride Check, we'll automatically check in if the unexpected happens on your ride.
I'm going to see if I try to play it a second time, if that will not happen. Okay, here we go. Hope it's...
Bold and fast, damselfly, nimble and precise. Welcome to the pond. The game is simple, fly and hunt. So who's your pick? From afar, they look similar. They're ancient cousins, descended from the same 300-million-year-old ancestor. But these expert hunters have evolved different strategies even within the same pond. Dragonflies rocket across the upper strata of the pondscape, reaching speeds up to 30 miles an hour. Their forewings move independently, so they can switch between two flight modes: out of sync for lift and twists, or nearly in sync for bursts of speed. Even when they touch down, they keep their wings outstretched, ready to go. Damselflies sit and wait, with wings folded neatly along their backs, on the lookout for prey. When they take off, they hover like helicopters, down low in the vegetation. They need to be nimble, maneuvering between the shoots and stems crowding the airspace. Plants down here break up the airflow, creating swirling wind currents. Flying in that turbulence requires some serious control. To understand how damselflies pull this off, researchers at UC Berkeley put these graceful flyers in a wind tunnel and saw that when they hit rough air, the damselflies maintain stability by quickly tweaking the flapping of their forewings. You may have picked your jetpack, but now let's consider your headset. Both players have compound eyes made of a mosaic of thousands of tiny eye units. Their brains stitch the information together into one big, clear picture. But they each see the world differently. How would you like a pair of these babies? Damselfly eyes are dicoptic, two separate eyes like us. But these wide-set eyes give damselflies an ultra-panoramic view. From a perch, they lock in on their prey. Just like humans, their brains compare two slightly different images to calculate distance and depth. And boom! They snatch their prey with precision. Dragonflies have holoptic eyes. They wrap around their head, giving them a nearly 360-degree view. These eyes act like huge surveillance cameras. Flying in the open air, they can detect movement that happens anywhere around them and track it or avoid it. In one study, researchers at UC Davis showed that dragonflies are experts of interception. Turns out it's a killer hunting skill. They anticipate where their prey is going and snag it with a 95% success rate. Watch how they both use their spindly legs like a basket. Ah, fresh catch. Now our damselfly can eat in peace. Or try to. That move right there is damselfly for not now, man. So did you pick your player? Team Damselfly or Team Dragonfly? In this game, everyone's a well-fed winner.
Well, I hope you enjoyed it, and that's the end of the program. And I'll be taking questions now. I'll put this slide back up for a moment in case anybody wants to record that. So I hope you
Yeah.
learned a lot. Yes.
Yeah, thanks, Kathy. I actually put that in the chat. I put both websites, the California Dragons bookstore and the Big Nest Pond, in the chat. So if anybody needs to copy those, they can. But
Thank you.
wow, thank you very much. It's they are amazing creatures. You know, they're just so entertaining. You build a pond and then you can sit there and have some pretty cheap entertainment for years to come.
Indeed.
Yeah, and it reminds me an awful lot of the book Nature's Best Hope, where, you know, we use our own backyards to create little postage stamps of habitat that will be our best hope in years to come. So the pond certainly seems to be a part of that. So if anybody has any questions, if you could put them in the chat, that would be great. I know it was very much amazing. And let's see. It says the chat is disabled. So, Bob, if the chat's disabled, I just saw you sent something. So if you could send that again, um, with a hashtag, then I might be able to pass that question on to Kathy or Wendy or Bob. If you have any questions coming into you, then
And while
we
we're
can
waiting for
ask.
that, I just forgot to mention that I have a Facebook page, Building Ponds for Wildlife, and you can ask questions and show off the critters that visit there. So I just forgot to mention that, so I'm doing it now.
Okay. So they said that the chat, that they're only able to chat with someone specific, not a group. So if you could send it to me, Nancy Foley, and then I will ask Kathy what the question might be.
Ready and waiting.
Yeah. It was a very good talk. So I'm sure people have questions. I'm just thinking that they're having a hard time getting them here. Although you covered everything well, so maybe I see something else coming up. Do dragonflies eat native bees?
I suppose especially that black and yellow one I showed, the spike tail, it's a specialist on bees and hornets. So that is a possibility, but it's never going to eat so many as to decimate a hive.
Okay. Are there any specific plants for dragonflies at ponds?
No, anything strong enough that'll support their weight for them to perch on would be best. And for emergent plants and things underwater where the nymph can hide. So those aren't specific plants, but plant types.
Okay. How long do dragonflies live once they
Uh,
emerge?
Once they emerge, they're going to live for maybe damselflies just a week or two. Maybe the big green darner, maybe several months. And the big green darners migrate, and we're still learning about that. So we don't have the definitive answer, but they don't live a year as a flying insect. Of course, they can live many years if you include the underwater nymph stage.
Okay, and then Judy has a question. How much water do you have to add? She said, I was running water for about 15 minutes every green days for a much smaller pond.
Yes. So a pond actually will not use more water than a lawn would. And for people on city ponds, I recommend filling it by bringing a water truck in so that you don't have to pay for water that's got chemicals already added to it. I'm lucky.
Okay.
Both my homes are on wells, so I use well water.
Okay. Wendy asked if you introduce any frogs to your pond or just wait and see what shows up.
I'm the impatient type, so I collected polywogs and brought them into my pond. But there are other ponds in the nearby vicinity. I'm sure they would have found my pond on their own. But you have to worry about bullfrogs finding your pond on their own also. And they eat our birds. I've had them even eat a Pacific slope flycatcher. And so you do not want to have bullfrogs in your pond.
Okay. This person asked, I only have plant beds, so only about 18 inches by 5 feet. Any suggestions about water pond options?
Hmm. My friend Sandra, who's my co-author, she used a galvanated stock pond in her backyard, and she hung plants around the edges of it using plant hangers, besides growing plants inside it, and planted things on um, inert plastic boxes like milk crates underneath, and she got a pond that way. It doesn't have a beach, but it has all the other features, and she loves it.
Okay, so a stock tank pond, basically.
Yes, so
Yeah,
that would work.
yeah. And she said thank you. She likes that idea.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? I see another one coming in. What happens to the exuvia once the dragonfly leaves it?
So it's inert matter. It's like leaving your fingernail clippings. Uh, at some point, wind and rain will wash it back into the pond.
It is kind of fun to walk around ponds and see those. You can
Yes,
see what's happening. So,
yes. And I even go out sometimes at night with a flashlight because the darners do their emergence at nighttime. And it's pretty thrilling just to have a pond. What it's brought into my neighborhood is just amazing.
mhm. Well, I don't see any other questions coming in. If Bob or Wendy, if you see them. Oh, here's another one. When you go into your pond, do you wear boots?
It depends on how cold the temperature is. In the winter, I actually wear swimming waders. In the summer, I go in just bare-legged.
Okay. Well, Kathy, thank you so much. It's been a great program, very, very interesting. I think we've all learned quite a bit. Thank you for the work that you do,
Oh,
and thank
you're
you for being
welcome.
with us tonight.
You're welcome. So will this be posted on the internet someplace where people can see it in the future?
Sure. We have a YouTube channel. Morro Coast
Oh,
Audubon Society has a YouTube channel, and we will put the recording up there.
oh, wonderful. I look forward to that. Let me know when it happens.
Yes, and a lot of people are sending you claps and hearts and all kinds of things. So, well, and one even had bursting clapping hands. So, yeah,
Wow.
everybody really liked it a lot. So, thank you so much. Really very interesting.
Okay. And if people have further questions, they can contact me through the Facebook website, the Building Ponds
Okay.
for Wildlife, or for my California Dragonflies website. Thank you. It's been wonderful being with you.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for attending.